As always, we've got some great new features to share with you from our 22.1 release. At Quantrix, we're always on the lookout for enhancement requests from customers that we think will benefit everyone in the Quantrix community. We have a great customer in the manufacturing space who has a deep product hierarchy that they manage in Quantrix using a multi-level grouped category. They wanted to aggregate their data on the fly, rolling it up and down by each of over 8,000 groups. This release brings a new Quantrix feature called Summarize that will help them and you do exactly this. I've just now connected to a database with some hierarchical data, and I'm going to quickly create an example matrix to show you how Summarize works. I'll start by bringing in some dates, which will give me a chance to show you a little but important improvement we made in this area. The default format for month here is now short month name, and previously we actually named the bin category itself the same thing as the format. That made the category names longer than they needed to be. Now we just call the resulting category month or day, regardless of the format, and we've indicated just that in the dialog here, that what you're controlling is the format of the items only, not the name of the category. Okay, so now let's pull this database field called subcategory into our matrix. This will be the lowest level of our hierarchy. Then, if we next drag category on top of these items, Quantrix will create a group. One more time for, say, segment, and finally let's put our sales data into the matrix. So what if we want to know the total sales for this furniture group? We can select it and click our old friend the summary item button. There's our total, and the formula that calculates it is down here. Now let's compare that to the new Summarize feature. If we now hover over office supplies, we see this blue arrow. A single click will create a summary item, but also hide all of the low-level item data in that selected group. Of course, another click will unhide and open it back up. If you already have a summary item on your group, like we made for furniture here, the Summarize feature will just use it and won't create another one. And just like the manually created summary items, you can change the calculation to something else, like average or whatever, and the roll up and roll down will work in the same way. There's more. If we want to summarize each of the groups within a segment, we could click Summarize for every one of them. Or we could go up a level, for example to this consumer segment, and hold down the Shift key while we click that arrow. This will summarize all of the groups one level down in the hierarchy. Furthermore, maybe we want to summarize all of the items for all of the groups, but only across a certain level in our hierarchy. We could do that too, using Control-click, or Option on a Mac. Using these modifier keys with Summarize allows lightning-fast roll-up and roll-down for large, complex hierarchies. It even works with complex, ragged hierarchies. Now, so far we've been looking only at a single grouped category, but Summarize also works with multiple categories on the same axis, with or without groups. Let's look at our date information, for example. If you remember, we can use Control-click to summarize across all the items at a certain level, like year, and then just expand our most recent year to look at actuals by month. I think this will help out a lot of planning meetings around the world. The next one is a bit of a power user feature. If you connect to a data source and choose to save the credentials, they'll be encrypted and stored on your local machine. If you have many data sources, they'll all be stored in this way. Then you might also have credentials that you reference in model scripts, so that users of those models can update their data from different sources. This scattering around of credentials locally and in scripts is what we set out to improve with the new Credentials Manager. Let's open it up from the Tools menu. Here you can see my obscured list of data source URLs, users, and passwords stored locally on my machine, in the top list. And we don't have any yet, but down here will be a list of whichever credentials are embedded in our currently open model. Now we have all of these sets of credentials right here in front of us, and we could easily create, update, and delete them, as well as test that the connections are all working, all in one place. So let's go ahead and embed a credential in the model that we have open, and I'll later show you how to make a button that uses this credential. We could create a completely new one, or by clicking this blue down arrow, push a copy of a local credential into the model where it will be stored in an encrypted cache accessible only to scripts that call it. This new type of embedded credentials comes along with a new set of script methods that use them. Let me switch perspectives to show you the old way this was done. To use a credential in a script, you had to list the username and password directly in the script text. Even though only users with full modeler permissions could see these scripts, it still seemed a little strange to have credentials written out in this way. Plus, if you needed to change a password, you would need to open and directly edit one or probably many scripts. There are other problems also with this old method. To update more than one data source, you'd need a complete separate statement for each update action. The old method will continue to work, of course, but it's deprecated, so let me show you the new way you should do it from now on. Here's our new method, which is called Perform with Embedded Credentials. Just like the name says, this method doesn't require the credentials to be spelled out. It's going to take this matrix name and look to see if there are matching embedded credentials in the model, and if so, just use them. Also, I've got these other lines commented out, but you can see if we have more than one import matrix to update, we can just list them all out here. Or we can use this other new function to just update them all. If we want users to be able to run this script, we can put it behind a button. The script we've been looking at is called The New Embedded Way. We'll pick that, and here's a new small but mighty feature. It used to be that the button label had to be the same as the name of the script. Look at that old ugly button. But now we can name it whatever we like. How about simply refresh? This data over here comes from that import matrix. Let me go ahead and delete the 2018 data, switch the canvas to interaction mode, and click the button. Hey, it works. Okay, the last feature I'm going to show you is a big one, especially for customers with large deployments. As of the 22.1 release, Quantrix Qloud Enterprise Plus now supports single sign-on. Using SSO, once you're logged into your corporate identity provider, you'll be able to go directly into Quantrix Cloud without logging in again. You will also be able to use your same corporate login to open models from and publish models to the cloud from your Quantrix Modeler desktop. You've probably seen that flow from the browser before for other applications you use with single sign-on, but let me show you what it will look like from the modeler. I've got the launch panel open, and here you can see I'm not yet logged into Qloud. If I click this drop-down, a browser tab will open, asking me for an email address. If the address you enter here is part of your SSO domain, you'll be asked by that provider, in this case Microsoft, for your password. You'll be redirected to Qloud, where you'll be asked also if you want to give the Quantrix Modeler application access to the contents of your cloud. Say yes, of course, and the process is complete. Modeler is now connected to your cloud via your corporate credentials. Keep in mind that if your organization uses two-factor authentication, you'll also be prompted for that in this process. One more thing. For all of this to work, your organization will need to have configured SSO on your cloud, of course, and your Modeler client will need to be pointing to the correct cloud URL. You can double-check that by going to Options, Cloud, and make sure this URL reflects your company's cloud server location. I hope you've enjoyed this quick run-through for what's new in Quantrix 22.1. There are more features. You can check them all out in the release notes, and we hope you'll give us any feedback that you might have on any of these features, or if you have enhancement requests that you'd like to share with us, by all means reach out. Thanks so much.